Hello, everyone. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Hi, everyone. My name is Yinka Freeman. I am the demand generation and events producer here at Remo. Welcome. I am logging in from lovely, very bright San Diego, California. Let's go ahead and engage the chat a little bit. Where is everyone logging in from today? Go ahead and put it in the chat. All right. On to Canada, Madison, North Carolina. Great. Welcome, Chicago. Kelly, I used to live in Chicago. I absolutely love Chicago. Welcome, everyone. Today we have a really exciting fireside chat. We are going to talk about how to grow your membership through virtual events. In case you are unfamiliar with this platform, you are on Remo. Remo is a virtual event and networking platform that allows you to engage in a very authentic way. Today's fireside chat is with Luff of the Watford Chamber of Commerce. He's grown his membership through virtual events in some very, very exciting ways, and I can't wait for him to share with us some of those ways. He's joined by Sam Bacon, our very own head of sales. Don't worry though, this isn't a sales pitch. This is just a conversation. So let's go ahead and invite them on stage, and we will just go over a couple of housekeeping items. So one of the first housekeeping items that I want to go, Chris, come on up and join us on stage if you can. All right, great. Thanks. Welcome, Sam. Welcome, Chris.
Hi, Inka. Hi, Sam.
Hey, everyone. How are you?
All good. All good. It's not as sunny in the UK as it is over there, that's for sure.
I will gladly take some of this sun and send it your way.
Please do. Please do.
Just some housekeeping items. If at any point you cannot see or hear Sam or Chris, please go ahead and refresh your browser. That's one of the first and easiest way to just reset your systems and hop back on in here, and you should be able to see them. Today, Chris and Sam are going to have a casual conversation for about 15 to 20 minutes. And from there, we'll open it up for Q&A. After that, we'll have about 20 minutes of a networking session, and you can mingle with everyone that is still on the platform. So if you want to ask a question during any time during the conversation, on the bottom of your screen, you will see on the right-hand tab, you will see a Q&A tab. Go ahead and hit that Q&A tab, enter your question. If you want to ask it anonymously, please do so. And Sam will make sure to see those questions and get to those at the end. If you see a question that you really like and you really want to make sure it gets answered, you can go ahead and click on that question and it will upvote it to the top. That is all. I know you're not here to hear and talk to me and see me. So I will go away and give it over to Sam and Chris. Over to you, Sam.
Awesome. Thank you, Yinka. And hey, everyone out there in the audience, really appreciate you taking the time to join us today. And Chris, thank you again for kind of joining me up here on stage to talk a bit about what you've been doing as kind of the leader of your Chamber of Commerce over in Waterford. I guess to start off the conversation, would love to learn just a little bit more about, what is the Chamber of Commerce? What is your purpose, or what is your mission statement, and kind of what do you do as the leader of this Chamber of Commerce in terms of kind of being driving economic good or driving membership, or what are the core functions of your particular organization?
Okay, we'll do, Sam. The first thing I've got to do, Sam, and sorry, but I'm going to pull you up. It's not Waterford, it's Watford.
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 There we go.
Nearly a Premier League team. We will be back soon. So, okay, so what does a Chamber of Commerce do? Chambers of Commerce are fairly, in my mind, they're old-fashioned. They've been around for centuries in certain cases. But our role, we're an independent chamber for a small town, but our fundamental role is connecting businesses together to help them grow their businesses and connect with the relevant government initiatives or the local councils if they've got any issues with locally. And so we have, in Watford, we have a population of 80,000 to 90,000 people, and we have in the region of 5,000 businesses within our catchment area. 90% of those businesses are what we would call SMEs, small, medium enterprises and sole traders. So our role is to make sure that they get the best opportunity to grow their business and sustain their business. And now, obviously, at the moment, it's a tough old time out there for small businesses. So there's never been a more needier time to have a network and to connect with other people. So we have another initiative that we call, it's a philosophy in Watford, found in Watford, called the Chamber of Conscience. And the Chamber of Conscience is built as a philosophy of getting businesses to do the right thing for local social impact and causes, working with charities and so on and so forth. So it's really nice. I mean, we're very proud of our town. We've got some awesome people and businesses that really do connect. I think there's so we were talking about this earlier on, Sam, there's research out there. I'll be really interested to get the detail of it. But connected communities, there's science behind it, are safer, happier, healthier and wealthier. So the more we can connect a community, the better it is for everybody.
Yeah. So 3 words that kind of, stood out to me are, right, the connect, the engage, the network. And it sounds like a huge portion of what you are doing is you're facilitating relationships, facilitating conversations, just facilitating, peer-to-peer connection in terms of kind of driving, whether it's social good, economic good, opportunities for, the members of your organization, but also as kind of a symptom of that, right, everyone within Watford to kind of, be better than where they were previously. So, pre-pandemic, I imagine a lot of this was, happening in person. Can you talk a little bit about, hey, what are the types of activities that you were driving? What are you responsible for? Is it a lot of events that you were putting on? And how do you kind of facilitate this connection, this engagement, the networking, number one, prior to the pandemic? And how has that changed kind of as we've all gone, to where we're at right now, which is in front of a computer screen, in my bedroom, not moving very far, and just going through that entire life cycle over the last year?
So, yeah, I mean, really interesting. I owned a business in Watford for 30 odd years, and I didn't ever go to chamber meetings because I thought that they were a bit dusty, they were a bit old fashioned, they weren't very inclusive. And a networking meeting used to be, in a Masonic lodge, and they used to have them and start them at 7 o'clock in the morning, and it was usually 50-year-old guys from accountancy practices and legal practices that had funny handshakes, and they'd eat bacon rolls and sit around.
Sounds talking. Like you needed the secret knock.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So, and I wasn't really into that at all. So when I actually took over the chamber, I said, look, we've got to change this thing up. The first meeting that I hosted was a 7 o'clock meeting about GDPR, which is the data protection regulations we got in the UK. One of the most dullest, boring subjects that you can actually do. So I said, look, we're going to change this up. We're going to look at pay ahead and bringing in charities to the chamber. Some of the old board members that had been around for like 20, 30 years had said, we don't want too many community groups coming to our meetings because we don't want them turning up with their begging bowls asking for money and sponsorship. To which my response was, well, I can't say that on air, but I told them I wouldn't do the job. And actually they were a bit short-sighted because we have over 500 charities in Watford. But guess what? Each one of those charities has to spend money on marketing, websites, accountancy practices, and so they're businesses. So why wouldn't we invite them in? And actually, I took it a step further and I got our existing members. I added a sum of money onto the membership, which is not a lot to, $300 or $400 your way to become a member of a chamber locally. And I said, if they paid an extra $100, they could adopt a charity and bring a charity along to our meetings. Now, immediately that happened, we got spotted by Metro Bank, which is a challenger bank. And I had a meeting with their guy and said, why don't we bring networking into your bank? You know, you want people to come to your bank to open accounts. I want businesses to have a place where we can go and have a cup of coffee and what have you. And so we started the Metro Bank network. And every Friday morning in Watford, we would all meet in the bank and they would put on teas and coffees. And it got crazy. I mean, we were doing really, every week I'd have 2 or 3 businesses do a 90-second pitch. I'd have someone playing a musical instrument. I would tell a couple of really bad jokes. We'd have a charity come in to tell us about what's going on in their world and what community is. And then we would just have coffee and have a chat. And we would encourage people not to thrust their business card in someone's hand. We would encourage them to actually ask them what they could do, you know, what you could do for them. You know, how can I help you, as opposed to, can I sell you something? And it just went mad. It was crazy. And we went from the first meeting we had there, we had 35 people turn up physically. And then for the rest of the year, we were getting 110, 120 people, businesses every week. It was mad. We even had a brewery come in once, and we were serving beer in a bank at 10 o'clock in the morning. And we have a mantra with our chamber, the Chamber of Conscience, is that, you know, there's no such thing as normal, and let's do things differently. Yeah. And then one morning, I parked my car at the top end of the town. I was walking through the high street, and there was this lovely, lovely sound coming. There was a girl playing a violin, a Romanian girl who was busking. And I said, how much do you make of a day? She said, maybe $10, $20. And I said, if I gave you $30, would you come and play for us in the bank? And she came down. She made 4 or 5 connections, and she got enough work for the rest of the year, apparently, right? So, you know, how you can connect people is just, it's amazing. We had a French guy who came in and made pancakes in a bank, you know? It was just different. And so obviously, I mean, everyone loved it. It was really relaxed. And why we knew it was working is that we started at 10 o'clock, we finished at 12:30, right? But then the manager of the bank was a lovely man. He said to me, Chris, you're going to have to get people out because they're staying till 1:30. Yeah. And so we walked up the road. There was a restaurant up the road and a pub up the road. And I said, well, should we go on there? And our networking meetings used to start at 10 in the morning. And on a lot of occasions may have gone until 10 o'clock at night because some of us would end up in a pub somewhere, right? But a good connection. Everyone was really gelling together. So, and of course, when the pandemic hit, that's gone from, you know, we went from hero to zero. But because of the background I had, my company, we sold Microsoft Skype for Business, you know, so we helped Microsoft launch their product. So we were one of the first chambers in the UK to go online, literally the second week of lockdown, or first week, I think it was. I said to Saffron, who's our operations director, you know, we got to go online. We've got to reach out to people. This is going to be a tough time. And originally we used Microsoft, and then we used Cisco, WebEx, and we used Zoom. Obviously, you know, Zoom took off because it was free. And we were holding events every single day. Wow. And for the first, every day we had an event of some sort. And it was great. It was sad because people were, you know, not knowing what was going on. But very quickly, I think people got fatigue of video calls. I mean, I did a big program with the guys, and I said, look, you know, you're going to get up in the morning still, regardless of whether you can leave your house, and you've got to put your shirt and your tie on, you know. When first meeting with my team, I was wearing a tie, and they said, I haven't seen you wear a tie for 2 years. Why are you wearing it now? I said, because I'm going to work. I know I'm in my spare room, but I'm at work. I'm going to dress like I'm going to work. So, my sister actually made me a special suit, which was a jacket and a collar and a tie, but it had Velcro around the back. So I could be wearing my football shorts and my slippers and still be in a suit, and then just rip it off and go and have lunch.
That
yeah,
sounds like
so things have changed.
Yeah, sounds like another business that you should have started there, kind of selling those Velcro suits to everyone.
Yeah, I wish I had.
Yeah, Carrie, it looks like you have the same idea there. So I'm curious. I mean, physical space, getting people together, all that stuff. I mean, one thing that resonates with me is it sounds like there was a common theme in terms of why people were coming there. Right, there was kind of a purpose. There were pitches happening at the bank. There was a charity that was giving kind of an overview of what they were trying to do, but ultimately it was about helping people like the violinist. How have you been able to? And then a big part of it is the organic connections, right? It's Chris and I shared a connection. We're going to the pub, and 10 hours later, we're 10 pints deep and stumbling home and explaining to our girlfriends and wives and partners, what the hell went wrong. But that's awesome. And that's the whole purpose of getting people together. How have you been able to replicate that in the virtual world? So obviously you were using Zoom. How are you able to replicate kind of that networking component in the virtual space? And physical space is limited. So you went from 35 to 110. How have you been able to get that number of 110 to 300 people or 400 people? And what are some of the tricks of the trade, or some of the things that you've done in order to increase that engagement while everyone's just so tired with these video calls?
Well, I think the first thing that happened is everyone flocked towards giving people business advice. Which obviously is needed. Everyone needs, mentors and people to help with ideas and so on. And so there was an awful lot of business programs that were going on, and obviously we did those as well, right? Then obviously with COVID, there was all the government regulations and the government benefits for businesses. And so we held events like that. We were getting maybe 30, 40 people on at a time. But then very quickly, well, not very quickly, actually, it was about 4 or 5 months it took, everyone started clambering into that virtual space. And so, we were getting invites from all over on various different events, the local council, the government, the Department of Work and Pensions, all these different people were holding events. So we started changing it a little bit and doing slightly different events. So we were doing events on mental health. So we brought in some early days, some specialists, and we started a group which is still active today, called the Watford Wellness Group. So we were doing it physically in restaurants and so on, but then it's just a group of people online. But with the traditional videos, and this is why, Yinka said this isn't a sales pitch, and it genuinely isn't. I'm here today because I want to be, because I want to build the relationship with Remo much bigger than it is at the moment for us, and I want as many people in our area to use it. And I'll come on to that because it has changed the way we work in this space. So yeah, we saw it go up, peak, and we were getting lots of interest, and then we saw it tail off. And then everyone started doing, because I bought the enterprise version for Zoom, I could have the most people on my platform. Then we started doing quiz nights, and they were good, but then you got bored of those, yeah? I held a family party on Zoom, and we actually went on from 5 o'clock in the afternoon, and we had a competition to see who was going to be on the longest, and it was my nephew, and he was on until 5:30 in the morning, and we still believe he was talking to himself for the last hour. But nevertheless, we were there. But again, people were getting tired of that, so we wanted to change it up. There's no such thing as normal in our network, and my daughter Lucy was working for the chamber at the time, and I said, with a colleague of mine who runs something called the Digi Cluster, which is a network of digital agencies that we have in Watford. And we said, let's do something a bit different. What's different? How can we do it? So she researched for 2 or 3 weeks and then got 3 or 4 quotations, did demonstrations, and came back to us, and she chose Remo. And literally, we had 50 people coming to an event the following week, and we said, we're doing it on Remo, let's just go for it and see. We had not even touched the platform, hadn't a clue how to use it. It worked, it was good, but we obviously didn't know the ins and outs of it. And so we then took it from there. I purchased whatever the license is, the enterprise version for this. and that enables us to get more speakers and have longer time periods, which has been very useful. And now I've just extended it to the top version just recently, because we wanted more flexibility in it as well. I see one of the questions from Kaylee, do we charge for these events? At the moment, we don't. We're just building our network of online people. So obviously members have a fee that they pay us on an annual basis. But at the moment, I'm just trying to grow the numbers and get people on board. Then we will be moving to a charge model in the future. So we found Remo, we put it together, and it was still difficult for me because in my chamber there's only 5 employees, and we're all pretty busy. I'm only part-time. I'm only meant to be there for a day and a half a week, and we didn't have the resources to do it. But I took on some apprentices and I showed them the platform, and oh my God, they've flown. I don't know if you've met Lee. Lee's a terrific young lad. He's 20 years old. He's lived his life in a wheelchair, wants to get into the film industry, and has been turned down on several occasions on interviews for no other reason that he didn't have this experience or didn't have that experience. I've given him this platform and he has just flown.
Amazing. So yeah. On that, I mean, what have you learned? I mean, with these virtual events, I mean, you've been through it all, Microsoft, Cisco, Zoom, now to Remo. Have you had to change the way that you think about events? What type of events are you running? And then how do you get people to engage in that? And then, going from, the first event of Remo was 50 people, where are you now? And have you been able to increase the membership base utilizing this in terms of the virtual events? And how do you think about virtual events going forward?
Yeah, no, very, very, very much so. The first week of our apprentices, I gave them a challenge and said, learn Remo. I want my own design of background. I want a pub. I want a bank. So we're creating the actual floor plan of the Metro Bank in Watford. So we're going to go back to having the bank, events as we warm up to coming back physically. Give me a pub, give me a theatre, give me a football club. So they're designing all of these backgrounds. But the thing for me is the naturalizing video. So, we're currently in traditional mode, right? You've got someone, you've got a panel down the right. We're looking at lots of messages that in the chat. It's me and you on a video. We can have, I think on our platform, we can have up to 10 people on stage, and that's normal, right? Yep. But the beauty is being able to go back to the floor and just relax, chill out, go and click on another chat table, go and talk to that person. Our last event we had, we did a jobs fair. So we set up each of the tables. Now there's a big sponsorship opportunity. We didn't charge for it, yep. But guess what? We will do in the future. So we had 30 businesses, the likes of Warner Brothers, Barclays Bank, Metro Bank, Lloyds Bank, the council, the NHS, the National Health Service, and their job was to have a table with 6 to 8 seats around it and just give career advice to young people. So it was a jobs fair. We had 300 people turn up. Wow. So it was awesome. And there was a few challenges around where people didn't know that we had an auditorium. So we had 2 events going on at once. You could sit at a table and talk to someone about a career opportunity, but actually we had speakers on stage that you could just click on the go to stage, and then you've got an auditorium where we had a company called iSales who work on apprenticeships. And so they were discussing career opportunities. We had mental health first aid courses. So it was a really buzzy atmosphere for 2 or 3 hours. It was really cool. So that was our first jobs fair. But one of the things that we've now brought into play is in Watford, we've committed to training 1,000 people in mental health first aid awareness. And so myself and a group of others have taken an instructor course for just awareness. And the whole remit behind it is to get rid of the stigma of mental health issues and the unconscious bias around what does it mean, but also to start supportive, meaningful conversations. So we're now using Remo for an education platform. So we get everyone at the tables, and then I present to them, and then I link in with another product that we've got called Kahoot, which is like a quiz, an online quiz platform. I share it on the screen. They all use their mobile phones, and then we have a little bit of a quiz. And then actually I have to have a professional conversation with each of them to assess what their learning has been. And so it's great for me because I don't have to have lots of organized appointments in my diary and set up a million different Zoom calls. I say, I'm going to be sitting in my office, and I'll come and get you when you're ready, but you can sit and have a chat on that table. And so that has been brilliant. It's really worked. And the other thing that we're doing, which we've only been running for the last week or so, is that we've now opened up our virtual office. So I said to all of my team, it's quite funny it was on a Zoom call. I said, right, we're going back to the office next week. Everyone, I want you all in the office at 9 o'clock in the morning. And their faces fell. Oh my God. And I said, yeah, no, back in the office. And they said, really? And I said, yeah. They said, but you said we could all work remotely and what have you. And I said, yeah, I know, but we're going back to the office. And then each one of them slowly cottoned on. They were calling me, where have I got to be? And I didn't realize we had that many desks in the office. And I said, no, the virtual office. And so what we all do on Monday mornings now, we all go and sit at one table. We have a team meeting, and then we go off to different tables. Last Monday, we recorded, I think it was like 60 different meetings we had with members and what have you, just throughout the day.
Wow. And people were coming in and out. And
coming in, going out, coming in, going out. And it was great for me,
Yeah, that's incredible. I mean, one thing that's kind of, is shocking me is just like the breadth of the events that you're starting to be able to have. And it seems like the type of events, whether it's educational, whether it's a job fair, whether it's, specific meetings kind of come in and out. It seems like, this platform or what you've been able to do virtually has really expanded the type of events and the creativity around what those events are in a bigger way. I'm curious from like a membership and an attendance perspective, right? A chamber of commerce is fairly regional. Have you been able to expand outside of that region to include people that have either moved away or, I mean, you mentioned a couple fairly large businesses. How are you able to kind of leverage them or leverage people outside of this location in order to kind of drive membership in your particular organization?
Well, it's on a number of things. We're actually letting our platform out and tables out, not charging for it, but we're saying to some of our guys, listen, if you want meetings, go and use table 5 or table 6, or we'll put their brand on it and, just come in and out. It's up to you. And so they're bringing in people from abroad and what have you. We just had a call with all of our apprentices and Kickstarters, and we've got several people from the north of England. So it's funny because chambers are meant to be local, parochial, town chambers for local businesses. But actually what it's enabling is, we're barrier. There's no barriers. We can break down some of these barriers, whether a business wants to do so or not. But I'll give you an example. There's we had a contingency come over from Bangladesh recently to Watford last year or the year before. And we showed them around the town, and they were holding a craft fair and so on. They asked me to do one of these presentations, and they put it out live on Facebook. They had something like 300,000 people watching it on Facebook. It was crazy. We were on the news in Bangladesh. And since then, my LinkedIn program, I've got so many contacts coming in from Bangladesh. But interestingly, we're starting some conversations about, well, why can't we look at relationships between Watford businesses, and why can't I have potentially an international craft fair or business fair where we can invite people from all over the world? I mean, you've got lots of people from all over the North America here, right? I want you all to come to Watford. I want you all to support Watford Football Club,
Yeah, this is we're doing the marketing for traveling to Watford right now. It just should have sold some sponsorships for some of the local businesses there, and had people send out beers from the pub just so that we could all enjoy them together.
But you say that as but we actually did. We held one of our events where there was a DigiClust. I think there was 25 to 30 people on the call, and we arranged for pizzas to be delivered at a certain time and beer to be delivered at a certain time.
No kidding. So you've really kind of been able to kind of involve some of the physical features of at least the commerce. And this is very specific to a commerce, but really utilize the platform to engage individuals in a completely different way.
Yeah, and the virtual pub we have on a Friday, which is with a partner of ours called Network My Club. That there's a virtual pub, and literally you're not allowed to talk about work, and you come and sit in the pub, and we all bring a bottle of something, and there you go. And usually you can tell how good it is, how good a night it is, by how many times it has to be extended.
Yeah.
The other week we had a lock-in. I ended up there for about 8 hours in a virtual pub. It's fantastic, and I didn't have to drive home. There's no taxis, nothing. It was brilliant.
That's amazing. And what are the connections that you've had? I mean, have you had anything that have come out of these events that have opened up new opportunities, or is there any specific story where you can think back? I mean, the jobs fair for one is great, but are there any other things? Right, a lot of associations, it's all about kind of that content. Presenting content, learnings, whatever it is that the organization is kind of known for. But then a huge part of it is just to meet other people and make those connections and kind of drive opportunities going forward. So do you have any kind of examples of some of the opportunities that have been created on these virtual events? And
many. So there's one we're working with, funny enough, with a wine company that distributes wine called Majestic Wine, based in there. Actually, the head office is based in Watford. And we've said to them, look, why don't we do some events around wine tasting education and spread out and connect people through, a social. Not everyone likes wine, but most people do, right? So that's quite a nice social event that we're having there. I've made one connection that's resulted in £500,000 worth of money being donated into charity.
Wow.
And we're sponsoring a community farm. We're sponsoring a random cafe, which is we've developed a solution called Feed My Future. It's a network group again, and it's everyone who's concerned about the environment, and we want to eradicate food waste in our town. And it's amazing. We've got some senior level guys that have just dropped in, and everyone's networking, talking. We have a WhatsApp group, we have our Remo room, and we can talk, and that's going to result in. We've actually applied for. It's called the Earthshot Awards. I think I'm not sure if it's a global thing. Prince William, I think, initiated it from our royal family, where they want to. It's almost like a Nobel Peace Prize for sustainability. So we've applied for it as a group of businesses in Watford to make an environmental change as well. But guess what? Everyone's networking, meeting, enjoying themselves, meeting socially now.
And it's
online
all
still, obviously. But yeah, but just through a subject of sustainability. So we've all got a passion in some area, and this enables you to go and talk about your passion, maybe on another little table somewhere, rather than be fed information by a presentation.
Very cool. So I want to be conscious of time, because I do want to kind of take advantage of the ability to go to the tables and network.
Sure.
Please kind of share questions if you have them. We'll take another 2 or 3 minutes up here on stage. I guess one thing that we haven't got into is, you've had a ton of experience with these virtual events. What advice would you give individuals for, starting this virtual space? What are some of the key lessons that you've learned, and how would you go about, setting up successful virtual events, number one? And then number two, how do you view virtual going forward? Is this something that you're going to continue? The shots are here, we're all coming, people are excited to get back into person-to-person relationships. How will you utilize virtual going forward? Especially in a regional commerce area like yourself,
Sure.
In the next year, 2, 3 years.
So personally, advice is just do it, get out there. I think years ago, maybe a couple of years ago, everyone was a bit nervous around video, and you've seen all those films or clips on the TV about newsreaders clouting their kids on the head and rushing their dogs out and what have you. Just relax. We're in a different world now. And if your dog comes in and barks, fine, just click the mute button, right? So I think it's just be brave, be bold, just do it, get out there. Don't necessarily pick a subject that's emotional and that people can get passionate about. Yes, we all need to learn about marketing, and yes, we all need to buy clothes and go online, what have you. But pick subjects that are not necessarily your normal subjects, and then maybe involve some business subjects as well into that. One of the things that we've done recently, which has been an amazing success, we have a charity in our town called Electric Umbrella, which are basically busting the myths of special education's needs and learning disabilities. And we've done some tests with big corporates where they'll start their traditional call, and everyone's looking at a screen and they're presenting, but then we'll hijack the call and do some music and exercises and getting people singing songs with these guys from this amazing charity. And it actually lifts the call and gets interaction and gets people talking. What's going to happen in the future? This is definitely, going to be a hybrid without question. We were talking about football earlier on. Not everyone's going to go back to a stadium, or why can't we all still go for a beer and watch a match using Remo? So we're building our virtual football stadium. Why can't we all go? And we were doing this just the other day, where 4 of my old mates, we had a Remo call. They all came onto, and we went off and played chess on different tables.
Okay.
Yeah. So online chess. So we're using our mobile phones and we're playing chess and having a beer and having a chat. And then when that person moves, when we go onto the other table, and we were there for 4 or 5 hours. So it will be a hybrid, because obviously we all want to get out, yeah.
Yep.
But it just offers more opportunity for more people to be included, and perhaps some of those people that have different abilities and disabilities is actually bringing them into our community far more than was available before.
Yep. Very cool. And with that, I mean, have you had to change, or how do you think, in terms of promoting these events and running these events and things like that, how different is it? Or are a lot of the things that you're doing kind of very similar to what you were doing for physical in-person events as well?
I think there's the challenge still of people's time and how much time you spend in front of a PC, as to how many people you're going to get to these events. But I think people are now recognizing this because it's more human, because you can pop in and pop out and you can move tables, and you can actually have a conversation and interrupt each other, because most of the other platforms, right, are only one directional in terms of voice. So one person talking, it blocks everybody out. So this really humanizes, if you like, or personalizes the experience. So, and that will continue. I think we need to do, without question, we need to do both. So we will continue to reach out to people online, and we will have outside events. And I'm now looking at the way of how we do both similar. Maybe we have big screens, whatever. I don't know.
Very cool. Well, I really appreciate the time. I mean, I've learned a lot. I want to just, pause very quickly to see if anyone out on the audience has any questions, any specific questions for particular use cases, or, things that we haven't covered that you'd love to hear, a take on. And if there aren't any, let's jump down to the tables and move around and, freely discuss what's possible on Remo or any virtual event platform that you're utilizing today. But I think the big thing is, it's the connection, it's the networking, it's the ability to include more people, not less, in, whether it's an education or whatever type of event or whatever type of purpose that you're trying to provide. This virtual event is very powerful in order to be able to do that. So very quickly, does anyone out there have questions? If you do, please, type them into the chat, the Q&A. We'll give another minute up here, and if not, we'll end the presentation, jump down to the networking lounge in the room, and hopefully you don't mind being bombarded here with individuals coming your way, but definitely spend another 10-15 minutes here before the event closes out.
Yeah, no, I'll stay around for as long as people want to talk. I notice there's a piano in the lounge, so maybe we're going to have a sing song.
Do you play or do you sing? A little bit.
No, one of the events I held for my apprentices is we did an online harmonica lesson, which was really funny. It was really funny. I've got a cousin who lives in New Orleans, who's a brilliant jazz pianist in New Orleans and blues player. And my other cousin who's over the UK, but he plays the harmonica. So he came on and did a half an hour harmonica lesson. It was brilliant.
That's amazing. Oh, that's awesome. I mean, it's amazing the creativity that you have in terms of the types of events that you've run. It's just awesome. So, and to be able to bring someone in from New Orleans all the way to Watford, that's just not something that you would have been able to do in person.
No, exactly.
It's kind of exciting. So
no,
that's
exactly
that's great. It really expands kind of the access to not only people, but the types of information that you can kind of portray down to the membership base or whoever it is that is attending these events. So awesome. Well, hey, Chris, thank you so much.
I just see Desiree say, is Desiree, and I hope I spelled that.
Desiree, yeah, lives in New Orleans.
Yeah, so look up John Cleary. He's pretty well known in New Orleans.
Awesome. Great. Well, again, Chris, thank you so much. I will be down on the floor. Chris will be down on the floor. Everyone that's out there, thank you so much for attending. If you do have additional questions, please feel free to kind of come on, hang out. Once we go back to the floor, turn your cam on, turn your mic on, have a couple quick conversations. Feel free to speak with other people that are in the same position that we're all in, trying to figure this out together. And happy to answer any other questions and look forward to meeting you all down there. And then, yeah, Yinka, if you don't mind ending the presentation, we'll jump down to the floor. So again, Chris, thank you so much.
See you on the other side.
Sounds good.